On January 26, 2026, the planet Neptune definitively recrosses the boundary of the beginning of beginnings, crosses frontiers, severing the past and initiating the project of a new world. On this day, Neptune enters the domain of fiery Aries. Neptune crosses the ascendant of the world's horoscope. Neptune is Poseidon. He is the sovereign of all earthly waters. And in the fiery sign of Aries, his calm and placid waters transform into boiling, turbulent currents. Neptune is the ruler of the collective unconscious, and in these turbulent streams of fiery water he inflames, he provokes our inner demons. Here, he kindles passions, he incites. Let us discuss in detail what this transit of Neptune will bring for all of us, for the whole world, and separately discuss each of the zodiac signs. Neptune enters this sector on January 26, 2026, and almost simultaneously with it, namely on February 14 of the same year, strict Saturn enters this sector. And together, these events signify the beginning of a new turn of civilization. Neptune is, in the direct and figurative sense of the word, the world ocean, the ocean from which life emerged. And the sign of Aries symbolizes the first step of humankind upon the earthly firmament. And the boundary Neptune is now crossing, the boundary between the signs of Pisces and Aries, is a symbolic gateway, passing through which the system resets and a new life begins. But not everything here is so rosy and simple, for from the dark and uncharted waters of the world ocean emerges onto the earthly firmament that which has matured there. Emerges that which was created by our unconscious, both the collective and the individual unconscious of each of us. The ruler of the sign Aries is the planet Mars. Mars is the warrior. Mars in our horoscope symbolizes our actions, our concrete steps, and Neptune endows Mars with an idea. And it is good if our unconscious endows Mars with a creative mission, rather than subjugating the power of Mars to its destructive passions and uncontrollable demons. And this choice between creation and destruction, each of us will inevitably make a little later, at the moment of the exact conjunction of Mars and the planet Neptune, which will occur on April 13, 2026. Yes, any astrological event has both its pluses and its minuses. Everything depends on the quality of the reality that each of us chooses for ourselves. And now, during this transit of Neptune, this stratification of realities in which Earthlings live will become even more tangible. What can the world expect during this transit? The first is a significant breakthrough in medicine and its capabilities. Moreover, both in surgery and in conservative medicine. Here there will truly be revolutionary breakthroughs. Probably many discoveries have already been made by the present moment, and now they are being tested. For example, 3D printers that, based on a person's biomaterial, can create necessary elements for them, can create certain organs. Considering the simultaneous transit of Saturn through this same zodiac sign, here we may be talking about creating bones, joints, teeth based on human biomaterial. Here truly many breakthroughs will be made. And Neptune also symbolizes anesthesia, so there may be new forms of anesthesia or narcosis. Second, the transit of Neptune through Aries will create new symbols, symbols of ideas like the Red Cross, which is known to all. This symbol was created precisely during a transit of Neptune through this sign. But now not only new symbols will be created, but old ones, seemingly long-forgotten symbols of the past, will be revived, and some symbols may be prohibited. Third, this is a time that will bring a multitude of reforms. This is a time of reformatting order and governance. This time will bring school, judicial, banking, and tax reforms, land and military reforms, especially military. The fourth aspect of Neptune's influence is a time of natural anomalies. Neptune is called the great oscillator of the Earth, and Saturn, which will transit almost simultaneously through this same sign, Saturn symbolizes the earthly firmament. And the sign of Aries in which all this occurs, the sign of Aries symbolizes the beginning of beginnings. Therefore, there will be natural anomalies, there will be strong storms, earthquakes, floods, and melting glaciers. The quality of life for people in some territories may deteriorate, leading to forced, let us say, ecological migration. The fifth aspect of Neptune's influence is migration issues. Here, not everything will be simple. There will be new laws, new rules, as if dividing migrant flows according to some characteristic. And in connection with this, there may be serious unrest. The sixth aspect, A little later, when Saturn finishes its transit through the sign of Aries, while Neptune will still be here, this will happen in 2028. This is a time when a serious industrial crisis will begin. Therefore, it is already important for each of us, in our own sphere of activity, to gradually adapt to the new demands of the time. It is important to gradually rebuild, not to throw excessive effort into living and working as it has always been. The seventh aspect. The time of this transit is simply an incredible field of opportunity for people who burn with the desire to create and build, for people who want to embody their dreams and ideas, their plans, into reality. Whatever it may be, Neptune inspires Mars to concrete actions, so this is a time when the idea decides everything. The eighth aspect. Neptune symbolizes secrets, symbolizes that which is hidden, and now is a time when secret societies will reveal themselves. This is a time of the revival of secret societies that existed once, a very long time ago. And they may give people an idea, that very idea that gives hope. An idea that may be false, distorted, fanatical. But it is precisely this idea that can fall into the collective unconscious like a drop into dry earth. It can satisfy the social demand for a new, healthy paradigm of world order. Therefore, apparently, we can expect both a new order of Templars and new crusades. We can expect many slogans, ideas, and fiery speeches. And you and I need to hold on and direct our strength toward realizing our mission. Let us now separately discuss each of the zodiac signs regarding in which sphere of life, and how exactly the influence of the planet Neptune will manifest. Aries, such a transit of Neptune happens only once in a lifetime, and even then, not for everyone. This is an unusual time that changes both the external event structure of your life and its internal understanding. And even if it seems to you now that you know exactly how this world works and who you are, then over the course of Neptune's transit through your sign, you will understand that in fact you knew nothing about the world or about yourself. Many discoveries await you. Yes, you may say that 12 years of Neptune's transit is a long period of time, a significant portion of our lives. And of course, much changes. But when you feel it, you will understand that changes under Neptune are not simply a change of some events. It is not just about moving, changing jobs, or changing marital status. It is about a completely different state. It can be compared to if you have ever dived with scuba gear. Especially the first dive, which leaves a vivid impression, when on the one hand it seems that we perfectly understood before what water, the sea, fish, and seaweed were. But we knew and saw all this from above. And having immersed ourselves in this element, we understand that it is a whole world. A world that lives by its own rules, that lives next to us, parallel to us, but we knew nothing about it. So it is with the influence of Neptune's transit through our own sign. We seem to enter another plane of existence, which we previously did not think of as something natural for ourselves. And the situation becomes even more unusual due to the simultaneous transit of Saturn through your sign. And such a combination, on the one hand, destroys something familiar to us. Familiar, but at the same time constraining. And on the other hand, it gives dreams and ideals that have always been inside you. It gives all of this a concrete form. All this influence will give such impulsive urges to destroy everything that is not ideal and to create something new, perfect, just as you have always wanted. Neptune in your fiery sign transforms into a brave and desperate warrior who rushes into battle for his dream. In practice, in real life, this is a time when you will radically change your image and lifestyle. At the same time, before arriving at the ideal balance of work and rest, the ideal image and style of your occupation, you will try, so to speak, different styles, from intense, maximally intense activity, fueled by the highest motivation from such an exhausting pace of life, to periods of, so to speak, doing nothing. From the stage of wanting everything at once to the stage of simply wanting to watch the sunset, simply watching raindrops fall on tree leaves. And having tasted both lifestyles, you will find your ideal one. Of course, not everything here is so simple. Here one can go through both a stage of absolute faith and a complete loss of it. That is, the search for the ideal balance of internal and external being can be accompanied by different events. And the powerful flow of Neptune that each of you will feel, a flow of faith, inspiration, a flow of unconditional love, has not only pluses. It is important to understand here the following. Your Neptune will be in opposition to the house, the sector of your partner, the sector of partnership relationships. And here it is very important to understand that it is you who are living through such a special stage in life. You, and not your partner, unless, of course, they are also a representative of the sign Aries. And you must try not to pour all your emotional states and experiences onto your partner. And if from time to time it seems to you that your partner does not understand you and does not want to understand you, then think about the fact that now you yourself do not fully understand yourself. And especially the period of late September 2028, when Neptune will be in opposition to the planet Jupiter. This is a time when one must avoid emotional decisions related to partnership relationships. And if there are such stretches throughout this transit when you feel it is difficult to cope with this powerful element within yourself, then you need to compensate for it with external actions. This is, first and foremost, swimming. This is yoga. This is practicing art. This is music. This is creativity in any of its manifestations. And of course, these are prayers and also trips into nature. Many discoveries, both within yourself and in the surrounding world, await you in the coming years. And may these be discoveries that allow you to feel happier and more harmonious. Taurus, Neptune is moving into the space of your 12th house of the horoscope. This is an equally unusual house, an equally unusual space, as Neptune itself, which symbolizes the matter of our soul. Here it is not easy to interpret the influence of Neptune into the event series of our lives, but we will still try to formulate, to clothe in words the mystical and foggy, illusory and idealistic influence of Neptune. The influence of Neptune, manifested on the event level of our life. First influence. The 12th house is the house of what stands behind our back, what is the goal, motive, and meaning of our actions for us. And here, on the one hand, Neptune blurs and dissolves the meanings of the past. That is the answer to the question, for whom and for what? I go forward, I do not give up, I develop. The answer to this question will change. For example, if before, answering this question for yourself, you told yourself that you were doing all this for the sake of the children, now the children have grown up, and you need to look for another reason to motivate your own actions. And on the other hand, attentiveness is needed here, as Neptune is a master of illusions and tricks. Therefore, now, as meanings and motives, we can choose something strange and illusory. In the negative, this is a time when we may decide that no one needs us or is interested in us, that the children have grown up, they have their own lives, that they are little interested in us, and we have not formed our own interests and our own core of life. Therefore, caution is needed with meanings here. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus, the higher octave of love, unconditional love. But in the 12th house, these are either relationships that do not actually exist, or such relationships that are little manifested at the event level. Therefore, again, caution and attentiveness are needed in relationships of various kinds, love triangles or long-distance relationships. What is this transit good for? First, of course, questions of relocation and immigration. For moving to another city, country, or to other conditions. For example, if you have always lived in a city apartment, now you may move to a country house or to your dacha. The 12th house is the house of seclusion, so many may now feel a desire to move to some calm, cozy, secluded place away from the noisy city. The second favorable flow of Neptune is a very good time for creativity in all its different manifestations. For those who are not currently engaged in any kind of creativity, even at the hobby level, during this period, you will want to do something based on your inspiration. Many will unexpectedly want to engage in music, learn to play some musical instrument, but of course, this creativity can manifest in different forms. The third flow of Neptune, which is very favorable for you, is a time of opportunities to form a long-term complex of some measures for yourself to improve your health, to take care of your longevity and well-being here and now. This is an excellent time to create a program for a long and healthy life. You will want to become stronger. This is a wonderful time for sports activities of different formats, for going to sanatoriums, especially those based on mineral waters or hot springs. This is an excellent time for adjusting your diet and in general for taking, so to speak, an active position in matters of your health, and a healthy lifestyle. The fourth aspect of Neptune. During this time, you will realize that more than once in your life you have entrusted the making of important decisions concerning you and your fate, that you have entrusted the making of such decisions to another person, your partner. And many of you will now want to take on this responsibility, which you previously voluntarily gave to your partner. The fifth aspect is an excellent period for organizing or reorganizing your own business, based on your personal actions and your initiative. Also, at this time, special caution is needed in matters of fraud, as there may be such cases. For Neptune is a master of illusions, a master of tricks, and it will be in the sign of Aries, the domicile of Mars. And Mars is masculine energy. Therefore, great attentiveness is needed regarding proposals that may seem too tempting. They may, of course, turn out to be so, but it is necessary first, before making a decision, to check everything carefully. Gemini, for the coming decade, Neptune will settle in your 11th house of the horoscope. And for you, this is good news. Firstly, because it is finally leaving the sector of your 10th house of the horoscope, the house of status and career, leaving the house of your social position. Therefore, any uncertainties or feelings of a suspended state in matters of your status at work, career, status in personal life, or status related to your place of residence, any such uncertainties will become significantly less. The feeling of such a suspended state will go away. Now Neptune will be in a favorable aspect relative to your sign. It will settle in the 11th house of your horoscope, which is the house of growth. Where Neptune is, in a favorable aspect, it is fertile, there is a favorable current, there is a gold vein, there is an opportunity to enter a space that was previously inaccessible to you. The 11th house is the house of society, the house of our social realization. And such a transit of Neptune is especially good for those who strive for popularity in their work, especially if this work is creative, related to art, related to the realization of one's own ideas. Therefore, this is an excellent time for those who promote their ideas, create products or some goods. You will be able to catch the crest of the wave of luck. You will be able to make your product, brand, your information product mega popular. For those who already in 2025 thought about retraining, about trying themselves in a new direction, throughout this transit of Neptune, you will find your flow. The 11th house is the house of our image of the future. And Neptune in this sector, yes, on the one hand, it blurs the image of the future that we had, but in return it creates a completely different space, creates a completely different idea of your future. And probably, even now you have some premonitions on this topic. The 11th house is also the house of marriage. Marriage that is not the first for us. That is, when we are looking for a partner not to realize our biological program of procreation, but are looking for a partner for the soul, when we are looking for a partner to unite our dreams, to travel together, to create a real future together. And yes, Neptune will help you meet such a person, who in essence may differ strongly from your idea of what partners suit you. The 11th house is the house of collectives, the house of society. And Neptune symbolizes unification based on spirituality, the union of souls. Therefore, you may take part in some trip, a special trip, for example, to holy places, or take part in collective prayers, meditations, practice yoga together with a group of like-minded people. Or, for instance, go to the mountains again with a group of your like-minded people. The 11th house is the house of results, the fruits of our labor. And Neptune expands the channels through which we create something. And accordingly, we receive more channels of return, fruits of our labor, we receive more income. Also, the time of this transit of Neptune is an excellent time of opportunities for creative people. These are all forms and types of art. This is it. These are writers. These are photographers. That is, it is a very favorable time for all who create based on their inspiration and their ideas. This is also a time when you will have creative and collective hobbies. This could be, for example, a passion for dancing or attending master classes, collective master classes in painting. This is a very fruitful, idea-rich time for you. Cancer. Neptune is leaving the space of your 9th house of the horoscope, where it has been for many years, since 2011, in an aspect of luck relative to your sign, providing albeit unusual, uninvited, and unexpected, but still opportunities for growth. Opportunities for growth through learning, through relocation, trips, travel, through gaining a new worldview and a new understanding of your role in this world. Neptune in this sector has given you an unusual life experience. And I know many Cancers who have indeed radically changed not only the event level of their lives during this time, but also their understanding of personal boundaries. Now, Neptune is moving into your 10th house of the horoscope for decades, so to speak, a demanding position relative to your sign. The 10th house symbolizes our status, our position on the social and career ladder, which includes our position at work, career, includes our position in life, personal, family status, and also status related to our place of residence. And Neptune in this sector has a dual manifestation. On the one hand, it unexpectedly gives us doubts about what seemed unshakable and immutable to us. We suddenly begin to doubt the unshakability and expediency of what we have. For example, we suddenly begin to doubt whether we are still interested in that job, in that line of work that we have. Interested both in terms of development, opportunities, prospects, and interested in terms of financial return from our work. We suddenly begin to doubt whether all this is really what we need, what we want. And here thoughts arise. Maybe it's worth changing something. At the same time, all this may be accompanied by some unclear, not fully understood processes within your work. For example, the management of the company where you work changes, and some strange processes begin within the team and in the structure of the work processes themselves. Some, under such a transit of Neptune, will go on maternity leave, some will retire, and some will decide to change the direction of their activity. Now, or more precisely on February 14, 2026, demanding Saturn also enters this same sector of your horoscope, and Saturn increases the load and responsibility. Therefore, some may decide that for the level of responsibility, for the volume of tasks that we perform at work, we are not paid enough for it. That is, Neptune and Saturn together here will destabilize the stable. But Neptune is fertile energy. It will give an opportunity to find your own among many. Therefore, now it is possible and necessary to try new things, to launch new projects. This is a time when we form our new potential, when we increase our resourcefulness. It may also be that you are invited to a job that is, so to speak, unclear to you, where you have no experience or specialized education. But the team of these people will be such that it will teach you everything. Nevertheless, Saturn and Neptune together can give, so to speak, drawn-out processes. For example, when you have finished your studies, but you still have to wait to receive a diploma or education certificate. Or you have actually stopped working in some organization, but you still need to wait to receive documents, for example, a work record book, or you have gone on maternity leave, but you are still registered in some organization. Or, for example, you have parted with a partner, but you are still legally married. Or you have built a house, in fact it exists. But you need to wait for documents on the legalization of this house. Neptune symbolizes our dreams, our ideals, and Saturn gives all of this concrete earthly forms. Therefore, this joint transit of two planets through your 10th house of the horoscope gives you the opportunity to find or create a social step that is ideally suited for you at this time. In the positive, such a transit can give an expansion of the family composition, but also additional responsibility, and along with it, fears and concerns that we may not be able to cope with such responsibility. Also, the 10th house is the house of control and power, and during such a transit, we can consciously give up control over something, over some process, or control over someone. For example, we let children go into adult life, or we give up some authority at work because we see no point in it, or we can sell real estate in which we do not live, and it is difficult for us to control and maintain this real estate remotely. This is also a time when we, together with our parents, can make some decisions, for example, decisions to sell some real estate or, conversely, to build. This is a very good transit for those who want career growth, development, for those who want to create and develop their own business. The main thing here is not to be afraid to change what, so to speak, no longer suits you. Leo. Neptune is leaving your 8th house of the horoscope, where it has been since 2011, and with it, illusions and suspended situations related to income, resources, and property are leaving you. Now, for more than 10 years, Neptune is moving into your ninth house of the horoscope, giving an aspect of luck relative to your sign. And an aspect of luck from such an influential planet as Neptune shows us limitless opportunities. Limitless opportunities associated with growth through the space of the ninth astropole. And for each, this fertile influence of Neptune has its own reflection. What could this be? Let's list all possible options. First, Neptune is about distant countries. It is about something new and interesting. Therefore, here there can be interesting trips, travels, including trips related to spiritual growth. These are various kinds of retreats, yoga tour, or trips to sanatoriums. Neptune symbolizes water, and in the sign of Aries, in the element of fire, it symbolizes places where it is warm. Therefore, these could be trips to places where it is warm or even hot, and at the same time there is a lot of water. Or it could be a trip to hot springs, to mineral waters, or a sea voyage. Neptune also symbolizes seclusion, so it could be a trip to a dacha, a sanatorium, a holiday home, or trips into nature where we sleep in a tent. Neptune also symbolizes spirituality. Therefore, for some, this could be a trip as a pilgrimage, a trip to holy places. For some, it could play out as moving to another country, obtaining a residence permit or citizenship of another country. And this could be a country where it is warm, even hot, and there is a lot of water. That is, it could be a city by a river, near the sea or ocean. Neptune, again, is about seclusion, so for some it could play out as acquiring a country house away from the city bustle. For some, as acquiring a dacha or a plot of land somewhere near a natural water source. Second aspect, Neptune symbolizes water, and in the sign of Aries, it is hot water. Therefore, someone may build a bathhouse, sauna for themselves. Someone may build a jacuzzi bath or a charcut shower. Here there may also be the arrangement of a new heating system or water heating. These could be solar panels, a heat pump, or a fireplace. This could also be the arrangement of a barbecue area, since the sign of Aries, in which Neptune will be located, symbolizes open fire. Third aspect, the ninth house symbolizes our education. Education both as specialized in a field and as training in some specific skills. For example, driving a car or a watercraft. This is also our knowledge of a foreign language. And in this sector, active development can occur either as a result of an internal desire to learn something new or as a result of an external necessity. Or it may be that already working in some direction, that is, already possessing the necessary knowledge and skills. We need an official diploma of education in this direction. Therefore, we may start studying. Fourth aspect, the ninth house symbolizes bureaucratic issues, so in the positive, the influence of Neptune here will be such that it will allow you to solve those bureaucratic legal issues that you already know about now. You know that they need to be solved. In the negative, new bureaucratic issues may arise here, the solution of which may, so to speak, be delayed. Fifth aspect, the ninth house is the house of everything foreign and distant. Therefore, here the issues of your cooperation with foreign trading platforms or with organizations located in another city or country can develop favorably. That is, commercial or intellectual activity, scientific activity that is related to something distant, foreign. This is a very good time for developing, expanding your commercial, scientific, or intellectual activity beyond the city or country in which you are located. Also, this may indicate new friends from afar, people who are foreigners, newcomers, with whom you may have some effective joint processes or ideas. Also, this may indicate entering into marriage with a foreigner, with a person who lives in another country or is a newcomer in the city, the country where you live. And of course, this transit shows success in various kinds of international projects. These could again be projects related to trade, to intellectual activity. These could be projects related to artistic art, art in general in its various manifestations. And here you can win some competitions, win grants. Here you will have to make an effort, but it will certainly pay off. That is, this is a time of successful development for you, even in those areas that you may not even suspect now. This is one of the best stations of Neptune. It is inspiring and fertile. Virgo, Neptune is finally leaving the space of your seventh house of the horoscope, where it has been for a very long time, since 2011, and brought illusions and mirages into the sector of partnership relationships. During this time, it brought you both illusions and self-deceptions, both regarding specific people and regarding your expectations from the sphere of relationships in general, or brought a distorted distribution of roles in relationships, where one partner constantly sacrifices something for the other. In the positive, this period could give that very meeting with that very partner with whom we sincerely want to share our earthly life until the end. Now, for more than a decade, Neptune is moving into the space of your 8th house of the horoscope and will give such a special aspect relative to your sign. This is an aspect that shows the repetition of some situation or event that has already been, yes, under other conditions, circumstances, and settings, but the essence of this plot is exactly the same. This aspect is called a quincunx. Neptune is a slow planet, and in the process of its movement through the sign of Aries, it will 3 times give an exact quincunx aspect relative to your sun. Therefore, in some situations, you will have the feeling that the world is asking you the same question 3 times. The transit of Neptune will pass through your 8th house of the horoscope, and this transit has both its pluses and aspects where caution must be exercised. In the positive, this is a time when your very strong intuition, which you did not have before, will turn on and manifest. Even in 2025, when Neptune entered this sector for several months, you could encounter this new understanding of the world, with the fact that the world gives you more signs, more hints. These can be both external hints that we see and hear, as well as dreams. That is, this transit enhances your intuition on all fronts, on all spectrums of intuitive interaction with the world. You may say things that later become reality. Also, in the positive, new financial opportunities appear here that were not there before. Moreover, opportunities based on shared and joint finances and resources. Opportunities not only as money, not only as profit, but also as an improvement in the quality of life. For example, a life partner appears who offers to move in with them into qualitatively better living conditions. Also, in the positive, opportunities will appear here to create passive sources of income that will remain with you for a long time. But here your initiative is needed, since Neptune will be in the sign of Aries, and Aries symbolizes initiative and the first step. Also, the 8th house is the house of transformation, and Neptune is our ideals and dreams. This transit gives an opportunity to change your life, change your image, rhythm of life, either through a passive source of income or through creating your own business that allows you to live, so to speak, on a grander scale, or through work, occupation that allows you to live at a different rhythm. Also, the 8th house is the house of our fears and phobias, and Neptune will allow you to understand this, find the cause, find the primary source of fear, phobia, or limiting belief, and exit this labyrinth of consciousness. Now let's move on to the minuses of this transit, to those areas where special caution must be exercised. Here, during this period, control over money, financial flows, and property processes is needed, both your own and shared ones. Neptune is a master of illusions and mirages, and it also symbolizes sacrifice. Therefore, people who, so to speak, throw dust in the eyes and promise quick enrichment may cross our life path. Moreover, enrichment through our investments, through our savings. And here attentiveness is needed so as not to lose your savings. Guarantees are needed here, and this concerns joint financial plans, both with a life partner and with your business partners. Control of the joint budget with a life partner is needed, since they too may be drawn into some dubious financial pyramids, and he or she may hide this from you. Also, attentiveness is needed regarding payment for your work, as there may be situations here when you are not paid for the work or service you performed. Therefore, you should try to take an advance payment. Here people may try to obtain goods or services without paying for them. And also, at this time, financial and property documents must be in perfect order. Marriage contract, insurance policy, certificate of ownership. If it is a matter of receiving an inheritance, it is important that a will is drawn up, so that it does not happen that other claimants appear for what a person wanted to bequeath specifically to you. Also, an important aspect of this transit is that it provides an opportunity to relive a certain important karmic situation for you, to pass that lesson that you once did not pass to the end or did not pass successfully. Here it is important not to rely completely on another person, but to rely on your own resources, your own income, and your own property. Here Neptune will indeed give you the opportunity to increase your capital and your resourcefulness. Libra. Neptune is leaving the space of your 6th house of the horoscope, where it has been since 2011, and gave you uncertain situations related to work, strange relationships within the team, gave you confusing situations related to your living conditions or matters concerning real estate and the organization of your existence. And only the past few years, due to the simultaneous transit of the planet Saturn through this same sector, could bring clarity. On the one hand, yes, it increased the daily load, and on the other hand, it gave more certainty. Now, Neptune is moving into the space of your 7th house of the horoscope, the sector of your partnership relationships, for more than a decade, and its transit will have both its pluses and minuses. And we will talk about this now. In essence, you could already encounter the Neptunian influence on this sector of your horoscope in 2025, when Neptune transitioned into this sector for several months. How exactly Neptune's influence can manifest in our lives. New people may appear. This could be a life partner. This could be a new friend or colleague. A new person appears to whom we suddenly begin to trust more than those people who have been with us for a long time, more than people tested by time. And the words of our new acquaintances can perfectly fit into our own dream image. And precisely because of this, the words of our new acquaintances can penetrate our subconscious, so to speak, without a filter, without the filter of our mind. This does not mean that these new acquaintances will try to deceive us. No, but the ease with which we begin to believe their words unconditionally, this ease is alarming. Neptune symbolizes our faith, our ideals, and the 7th house is the house of our partner and our partnership relationships. Therefore, for some, this transit will play out as a search for an ideal partner or as a dream of ideal relationships. It does not necessarily concern personal life, although primarily it concerns this sphere. We can dream of a close friend, we can dream of a business partner with whom we can realize our dreams. And very soon, namely on February 14, 2026, stern and cold Saturn will also transition into this same sector of your horoscope. And if Neptune is faith, dreams, ideal, then Saturn is concrete earthly forms. If you are searching for a relationship, you may indeed meet that very person you have always dreamed of, or create a relationship of such quality, such nature that you have always dreamed of, that you wanted. But this can also manifest in such a perspective that you will understand that everything you dreamed of is already next to you, that the person with whom you are in a relationship is that very one. The simultaneous transit of Saturn and Neptune through the sector of your partnership relationships can also act, so to speak, soberingly, when we suddenly see reality, see our real selves and our real partner. And this does not speak of disappointment. On the contrary, it speaks of true merging and acceptance, especially in couples who have been together for a long time and for many years have tried, so to speak, to re-educate each other. And now you will suddenly understand that what you considered a shortcoming of your partner, that in general both your strengths and weaknesses and those of your partner, that all this merges into a harmonious and complete whole. Of course, the transit of Neptune through this sector also has a negative manifestation. For example, this is excessive sacrifice in relationships, the illusory nature of the relationships themselves, the suspended, unclear state of the relationships themselves. But this will manifest more likely after April 2028, since in the period from February 2026 to April 2028, Saturn will be in this sector, which, on the contrary, demands clarity and responsibility. And when it leaves this sector, that is when uncertainties and the suspended state of your relationships may manifest here. Then, so to speak, Neptune's influence will become uncontrollable, and partners may commit strange, illogical actions, may start some processes with, so to speak, foggy consequences. And if you generally believe these people, if they have given no reason not to believe them, then now you should believe in their dream as well, even if it seems strange to you. In general, this is a time when it is precisely our partners, their words, their actions that create our state. Everything concerning Neptune is difficult to describe in words. But when you encounter, so to speak, a Neptunian situation in the sphere of your partnership relationships, then all these words we have already said will acquire meaning and understanding. Scorpio, Neptune is finally leaving the space of your 5th house of the horoscope, where it has been since 2011. It was in a favorable aspect, an aspect of luck relative to your sign, and gave you inspiration, creative flight, falling in love, flirting, creative hobbies that could be shared with your children. Neptune could bring you unusual hobbies. Yes, the paths of Neptunian influence on our life are unusual, but they are very interesting. Now, for more than a decade, Neptune enters your 6th house of the horoscope. You may have already encountered its influence. In 2025, it visited this sector of your horoscope for several months. The 6th house is the house of labor, the house of routine, daily tasks, the house of a healthy lifestyle, the house of our pets. And the 6th house is also considered the house of problems. And the transit of Neptune through this sector brings both its pluses and minuses. And we will talk about all of this now. First aspect of Neptune. The 6th house is the house of our subordinates. Subordinates both at our work, and this concerns people we hire to perform one-time or temporary work at our home. For example, this could be a repairman for something. This could be a nanny for our child. This could be a person we turn to from time to time for help with a thorough cleaning. This could also be an assistant you hire to help with your work. Neptune is a symbol of illusions, a symbol of sacrifice, a symbol of deception and understanding. That is, when we understand that a person is deceiving us, but we agree with it, we decide to accept it. Therefore, Neptune's influence here is such that subordinates may violate the schedule, may violate the conditions of your joint agreements, may not come to work, may fall ill at the most inopportune moment for you, when you were counting on them very much. And here, on the one hand, yes, your control is needed, and on the other hand, it is necessary to understand that you cannot 100% rely on the help of your subordinates. Or, for example, if you hire a group of workers to perform repairs in your home or to build your house or dacha, then special attentiveness is needed here, since deadlines may change, the conditions of your agreements may be violated. Your control is needed here. Second aspect of Neptune. The 6th house is the house of our healthy lifestyle, and Neptune symbolizes chronic and sluggish diseases. And considering that very soon, namely on February 14, 2026, stern Saturn will enter this same sector of your horoscope, this indicates that health needs to be addressed. This indicates that it is easier and more correct to prevent some disorders in your own body than to engage in treatment later. And a comprehensive approach is needed here. This includes preventive treatment, a healthy lifestyle, a proper diet, sufficient water intake, and the use of dietary supplements or vitamins. Neptune also symbolizes something non-traditional. That is, here you can use mineral water for treatment, for recovery, or go to a sanatorium based on mineral waters or hot springs. This also includes herbal treatment, homeopathy. This includes sports activities based on non-traditional methods. This is yoga or something similar. This includes traveling to holy places that give strength. It is very favorable during this time to observe fasting, since Neptune, among other things, symbolizes faith, religion. And fasting, as purification of soul and body, is very useful here. Neptune also symbolizes sleep, so getting regular, sufficient sleep is the key to good well-being. Third aspect. The 6th house symbolizes our rhythm and style of occupation. Neptune symbolizes ideals, symbolizes a relaxed state. But Saturn, which symbolizes concrete earthly forms, symbolizes system, joins Neptune on February 14. Therefore, your task here is to change your daily routine so that you can sincerely say to yourself, "Yes, this is good, this is convenient for me." Sometimes the transit of Neptune through the 6th house gives a persistent unwillingness to work, an unwillingness to work according to a certain schedule. But in this same sector of your horoscope, from February 2026 to April 2028, the planet Saturn will be transiting, which, on the contrary, says that you need to work. Work systematically. Saturn demands a schedule, demands rules. Therefore, the ideal combination of Neptune and Saturn energy in this sector will be the following scheme, when you can say to yourself, "Yes, I have a schedule, I have rules, but this schedule of my life, my occupation, My daily routine I have drawn up myself, as it is convenient for me. Fourth aspect. Neptune symbolizes sacrifice, pity, empathy for someone, symbolizes empathy. And here people may cross our life path whom we will pity, whom we will help. The main thing is that our ability to pity and desire to help are not used by people who simply do not want to do anything, can do but do not want to. Fifth aspect. Here, throughout this entire transit, attentiveness is needed when concluding any agreements, contracts with an employer, since there may be a situation here where you are promised one thing, but in fact it will not be there. Therefore, it is necessary to carefully stipulate all deadlines, all rules of your interaction. And another aspect of Neptune, its manifestation in your sixth house, lies in your attitude towards animals. Since the sixth house symbolizes pets, and Neptune in this sector gives, it increases our ability to pity and help. Therefore, this is a time when you can simply take in a homeless animal out of pity. Sagittarius. Neptune is leaving the space of your fourth house of the horoscope, where it has been for a very long time, since 2011, and brought you unclear, blurry, suspended situations in family matters or issues concerning your place of residence or your property. And only the past 3 years could provide clarity in this sphere, clarity and realization of your goals, since stern and severe Saturn was simultaneously located here. During this time, you could resolve all these issues, yes, with difficulty, effort, obstacles, and limitations. Nevertheless, the situation is completed from an astrological point of view. Now, Neptune is moving into the space of your fifth house of the horoscope for more than a decade and will be in an aspect of luck relative to your sign. And for you, this is not just good news, but very good. Neptune will be in the fiery element, and this is your element. Therefore, here you can expect the best possible manifestation of the planet Neptune. For those of you who are not only representatives of the sign Sagittarius, but were also born in the period from 1971 to 1984, Neptune in the sign of Aries will additionally give an aspect of luck relative to your natal Neptune position. That is, for you, this is double luck. But even if your year of birth is different, not included in this list, Neptune will still give an aspect of luck relative to your natal sun. Let's discuss which specific spheres of your life, in which directions Neptune will bring you luck and opportunities. First aspect of Neptune. The fifth house is the house of creativity. Creativity in all its different manifestations. Creativity is everything about which we can say, I came up with this. Creativity is art. It is our hobby, passion. It is dancing, sculpting. It can be anything, what we do because it interests us, because we have inspiration for it. Creativity can also manifest in our professional activity, whatever it may consist of. In everything, there is space for one's own ideas. And for you now, the time of this transit of Neptune is a time of triumph of your creative projects. You just need to show them to the world, declare yourself. Since the planet Neptune in 2025 already entered this sector of your horoscope for several months, this creative streak may have already awakened in you. That is, some already know now which project, which direction is being discussed. And for some, it will be a surprise at the moment when Neptune makes an exact aspect of luck relative to your natal sun. For you, the time of this transit of Neptune is a time of unexpected triumph. This is a time when other people will become interested in your ideas, your creativity. But you need to show your creative ideas to the world. Whatever it may be, someone will open their blog about fishing. Someone will create their YouTube channel about making jam or knitting things. That is, it is important here that you show the world what interests you, what you do with pleasure. The key to your triumph, to your unexpected success, lies precisely in what you do with joy, passion, and inspiration. Second aspect. The fifth house is the house of joy. Therefore, for you now it is important to create a new source of joy. Do not deny yourself the joys of existence. Do not deny yourself a trip, attending some event. Go to events more often, visit the theater, meet with friends, that is, fill your life with bright moments. Third aspect. The fifth house is the house of children. And here it is important to devote time and attention to your children. It is important to develop their creative abilities or even engage in some hobby together. That is, have a common hobby. Yes, not everyone has ideal relationships with children, especially adult ones. and now it is important to establish contact. The main thing here is honesty and openness in relationships with your children. It is important to admit your mistakes, speak honestly, sincerely, and keep your promises. There may also be a series of such touching moments in relationships with your children. For example, when we tell or read a fairy tale to our adult child before bed. You can put your own story or your sorrow into this fairy tale, or go to an amusement park with your adult child and ride the carousels together. Eat cotton candy, that is, please your inner children. It is important to restore this inner closeness, restore sincerity. Fourth aspect. The fifth house is the house of feelings, the house of love, the house of emotions. And this is a very good time for those who are searching for a relationship. You will be able to find your love. And if you are in a long-term, steady relationship in which much has accumulated, then this is a time to start the relationship from a clean slate, admit mistakes to each other, and forgive each other if possible. Here, in the sphere of love, romance, feelings, there will be many touching moments. If the issue of personal life is not relevant for you, then the energy of the heart can go through books about love, through films or programs about love stories and the experiences of other people. In general, this transit of Neptune for you is a very interesting time that will bring many bright and touching moments, will bring inspiration and a feeling of emotional and creative uplift. Capricorn, Neptune is leaving the space of your third house of the horoscope, where it has been for a long time, since 2011, and gave you non-obvious and unusual paths to achieve your goals. Yes, in the negative, this time could bring losses associated with excessive trust in people. This transit could bring you a false feeling that you spent a lot of time wandering in search of truth. But that is not the case. You were effective all this time. It's just that our effectiveness is not always determined by specific mathematical parameters. Now, Neptune is moving into the space of your fourth house of the horoscope for more than 10 years and will be in a rather demanding aspect relative to your sign. And this will bring both its pluses and minuses, which we will talk about now. First aspect. The fourth house, where Neptune will be located, is a space that symbolizes our home, our place of residence, and our possession. And Neptune symbolizes ideals. Therefore, this transit will give rise in you to a desire to create an ideal living space in every sense. Now it is important for you to understand where you want to live. In detail, in the small things, what landscape should surround your space, what should be visible from the window. The sea, a river, a forest, or mountains. Do you want to live in a private house or an apartment, in a big city or a suburb? In which city or country do you want to live? This is a time to think through the design of your home space. Think it through and then create it in reality. And this is usually something calm and halftones. These are plans related to creating coziness, such a protected and cozy home space where there is a comfortable armchair, convenient for reading or looking out the window, watching the sunset. And you will certainly have the opportunities to create all this. Nevertheless, Neptune symbolizes illusions, mirages, deceptions. Therefore, when dealing with documentation related to place of residence, the right to own some property, attentiveness is needed here. Also, this transit of Neptune can indicate receiving real estate as an inheritance, and it is very important to preserve and transform this inheritance. Or it may indicate acquiring old, abandoned housing and completely transforming it. Also, you may develop an interest in acquiring and restoring some antique interior items. This could be a wardrobe, a table, dishes, or a painting. Second aspect. The fourth house of your horoscope symbolizes family relationships and kinship ties. And here, throughout this transit, it is important to prioritize household, family matters related to relatives and intrafamily relationships. Throughout this transit, one of your relatives may require more attention or care than usual. This may be related to the birth of a child, grandchild, caring for your parents, or care and attention towards a temporarily incapacitated relative. However, again, since Neptune symbolizes illusions, mirages, deceptions, it is very important here to understand the clear picture of who really needs your help, support, and attention, and who is simply trying to use your resources, as under such a transit of Neptune, there may be strange manipulative relationships on the part of distant relatives. Third aspect. Neptune symbolizes our ideals and dreams, but also mirages and illusions. Therefore, throughout this transit, from time to time there may be a feeling that somewhere else, in another city, country, or rather on another continent, paradise on earth awaits us. We just need to move there. But in practice, everything may turn out completely different. Therefore, before deciding to move to some radically different place, space, country, it is worth going there temporarily, living there, and looking at the realities. Fourth aspect. Neptune symbolizes water. Therefore, all systems in our home, systems that are somehow connected to water, such as the water supply or heating system, all these systems should be preemptively put in order, as there may be leaks, bursts, some breakdowns here. So it is worth making sure in advance that everything in this sector is under your control. In general, the time of this transit of Neptune is a period when you will be able to create that ideal living space. And during this transit, a moment will come when you will say to yourself that yes, this is the place, this is the space I dreamed of. Everything is exactly as I imagined it. That is, the main message of Neptune's transit through the fourth house is to create ideal conditions for yourself and your family. This concerns both the place of residence and intra-family relationships. Aquarius. Neptune is finally leaving the space of your second house of the horoscope, where it has been for a long time, since 2011, and from time to time brought you confusing or suspended situations related to money, property, resources. Also, there could be some drawn-out processes related to investments or receiving an inheritance. And on the one hand, this period of Neptune's transit gave you interesting, promising opportunities related to earning. And on the other hand, it was difficult here to create something that gives a sense of confidence in tomorrow. And only the past 3 years, due to the simultaneous transit of stern and responsible Saturn through this same sector of your horoscope, could bring, yes, a series of limitations and narrowing of the space of opportunities, but at the same time more order and a feeling of at least some stability. Now, Neptune is moving into the space of your third house of the horoscope for more than a decade. And this is an excellent station of Neptune for you. It will be in an aspect that shows favorable support for your endeavors from the space, shows the favorability of the course of circumstances when you show initiative. Moreover, on February 14, 2026, stern and responsible Saturn also enters this same sector of your horoscope. Saturn is the most material planet, so altogether this promises both an influx of inspiration and practical opportunities, real tools for improving the quality of your being. However, Neptune has both positive and negative qualities of manifestation during the transit through the third house of the horoscope, and we will talk about this now. First, influence of Neptune. The third house is the house of our informational contact with the surrounding world, contact with people. It is the house of our intellect, our speech, knowledge, our skills. And Neptune inspires development precisely through this space. This can be learning either something unusual or something you have always wanted to learn but did not have the opportunity. Neptune gives inspiration and ideas, and precisely through the space of the third house of the horoscope you will be able to express them. For example, create your blog, YouTube channel, or start your social media page, or create a program of training courses. The third house is also the house of written speech, so someone will start writing poetry, stories, a book. Neptune is also images, photography, video, so here it provides you with a wide field of opportunities for creativity. This can also be creating your own business based on your ideas. And this can be both commercial trading activity and something creative, for example, organizing excursions, hiking trips, or escape rooms. Second aspect of Neptune's influence. The third house is the house of air, the house of movement, and Neptune inspires. Therefore, this is a time when we, both literally and figuratively, do not sit still. However, in the negative manifestation, our flight of fancy can interfere with concentrating on what we are doing here and now. Therefore, in formal, specific matters, we may make mistakes, we may show inattentiveness. The third house is the house of movement and means of transport. Therefore, attentiveness is needed when driving, both regarding compliance with traffic rules and regarding the technical condition of your car. Neptune symbolizes liquids, so control of sufficient levels of those fluids that should be in the technical part of the car is needed here. Third aspect of Neptune's influence. The third house is the house of communication, informational contact with our surroundings. And here we are talking not about our close people, but about acquaintances, neighbors, colleagues, or classmates. And the simultaneous transit of Neptune and Saturn through the third house of your horoscope requires, on the one hand, such a friendly and open attitude, and on the other hand, reminds that aimless communication should not take up much of your free time. Therefore, any conversations that start from afar, with some abstract reasoning, are better translated into the plane of specifics. Fourth aspect. The third house is the house of our informational contact with the world, and Saturn and Neptune require honesty, so here it is important to operate with facts, not fantasies. It is necessary to eliminate the so-called broken telephone, try to avoid any gossip and conversations behind someone's back. But an open and direct conversation, during which things are called by their proper names, is the right solution. Pisces. For you, any movement, any transit of Neptune is especially important because it is the ruler of your sign. Its transition into the fiery element of Aries endows you with qualities characteristic of representatives of this sign. You are already well acquainted with the influence of Neptune, which has been transiting your sign since 2011. It changed your ideas about yourself, about the world around you, changed your idea of your own ideals, dreams, and illusions. It gave you both a new lifestyle and a new role. It gave you a new foundation and, as it were, redefined your realities, your basic settings. Yes, there could have been periods in your life when all that remained was to pray and believe, when everything that seemed unshakable blurred, when it seemed that you were left alone on a small raft in the middle of an unknown ocean of being. All this was from 2011, and now you have become yourselves and have found yourselves anew. Now Neptune is moving into the space of your second house of the horoscope for many years. This is the sector of your resources. Resources are, of course, first and foremost material resources, our income, our property, but we ourselves are also our main life resource, our physical, energetic, mental, and soul state. The second house is the house of our values in different senses of the word. And now you will not only determine but also designate your new value. And most importantly, you will start to act. Act not as you did before, but act as Aries do. Neptune is fertile energy, such a full-flowing force. And your task now is to create a more prosperous material level of your being for yourself. It is important to act actively here because the energies of Aries are activated, energies that show initiative, courage, and action. This does not mean that the first thing you undertake will become mega successful, but it means that at least one of your projects will become so. The fruits of Neptune are limitless, and here it is important to find your flow, your current. But first, it is important to eliminate the leak, figuratively speaking, eliminate the cracks in your energetic vessel. This first of all means that you need to close credits, debts, you need to stop some irrational expenses. And it also means that you need to fix yourself with the help of sleep, food that gives energy, with the help of sports activities, with the help of preventive treatment if necessary. If you now feel that your vision is already deteriorating, then something will need to be done about it. The second house is the house of our vision, and Neptune blurs clarity, so this could be glasses, lenses, or some treatment. Also, the second house is the house of what is habitual for us, what is in our field of vision, including or even primarily our living conditions. And here there may be changes for some through moving, for others through repairs or changing the atmosphere in your home. It is important to understand that our home, our place of residence, is a significant part of our energetic vessel, our capacity. Therefore, here too it is necessary and important to eliminate gaps, that is, to eliminate objects that are in your field of vision and carry unfavorable energy. These are dishes that have cracks, a worn-out towel or bed linen. These are items that are broken, that do not function, but we keep them in our home. Prosperity is now created by you. You have to start somewhere. According to the theory of small deeds, it is important to repair your energetic vessel and eliminate the leak. And it's best to start with yourself and your home. It is important not to waste time. It is important to stop saving everyone. Save yourself first of all. Create your own well-being. But let's speak frankly. Saturn also enters this same sector of your horoscope on February 14, 2026. And this may give, at first, such a decline in your income level. Some channel through which you received money may disappear or close. But all this is needed so that you feel your possibilities anew. This is needed so that you show activity and find your, so to speak, gold vein of Neptune.